Have you ever had that situation that you don't have enough money and you are kind of in this stressful kind of area, you're just earning enough to cover all your bills, or you're in this kind of transition area that you mentioned where you can also have some fun but not really set something aside and you're still kind of stressed?
So I think I had this situation kind of 2 times. And one time was when I lived in the US and I had only like a student kind of payment monthly, which was very thin. I was living with a host family and they were super nice, and I only had to pay like, I don't remember, like $200 a month for food, rent, everything, which is insanely cheap, right? And I could live there like king, and it was amazing. And I think I earned, I don't remember actually. I need to look that up, but I didn't earn as much. And so basically at the end of the month, I was always down to zero, because I was like, I'm gonna be here for 8 months. I wanna take in the experience, I wanna do things, but I also don't wanna kill all my savings. Because I, maybe wanna buy a car when I get back home, or if I go study, I cannot work full time and stuff like that. So there I was in this clinch where I'm like, should I really spend the money to have this fun, to have these experiences? Or should I like save $200 a month, and does that really help? And for me, that was quite a tough situation because I didn't know where I'm standing. And then I just decided, well, whatever happens, happens, we're gonna spend some money. And it was the right decision because I had an amazing time, an amazing experience. This was one time, and another time when I moved to a different apartment, it was a little bit more expensive because we needed more space. And there was just like the base pay of the apartment and everything went up, like when we moved to the Zurich area. And this was really challenging for me or for us, because we're like, me and my girlfriend moved in there, and we're like, hey, we do not have that bad of salaries for our age, but we still barely manage to put some things aside, because we're both very cautious in our money management. We try to invest, to set aside like future-wise if we want to buy a house in the future and stuff like that. But we were like, hey, what are we doing wrong? The food went up, and that's something I'm not going to save on. I want to have good quality food. Rent went up, electricity went up, everything was way more expensive. And there was a time I didn't feel it, but when the situation was resolved, like when this initial amount of money, like getting all the furniture, getting set up, when this kind of time was over, we could set aside just a little bit more. And then you feel all this stress go away. And you're like, what's this feeling? Because you don't have this pressure of having the zero at the end of the month. It was never zero, it was always way more. But you see just the numbers coming in and you're like, shit. And this puts an extreme load of stress on the mind, but also the relationship in my case. Because we're like, okay, what do we do? How do we do it? Are we doing something wrong? Are we losing somewhere? And like, okay. And then just as soon as we like, apartment was set up and everything was bought, and like this initial costing phase was over, was like, okay, now it's chill. But also there, like if we would have earned 20K more each, we would not have had this phase. And I imagine just if you're always in this situation, it must be extremely stressful. And if you have kids and they need a laptop for school or stuff, I don't know how some people do it, because I think it's super, super hard.
Luckily, I've only been in a situation like this for a brief period of time, and it was also kind of temporary. I knew it would be temporary, but there was a time in my life where basically I was just living salary to salary, but no like big expenses. It was just kind of enough to cover rent, health insurance, like all other insurances that you need to have in Switzerland, pay for food and electricity, and that was it. And still at the end of the month, I was left with maybe $50 or $100. And you really kind of had to think twice or 3 times or 4 times before you buy something. And also with groceries, like, can I actually afford this? Shouldn't I maybe just eat pasta and like add some tomato sauce to it, because it will still give me energy. It doesn't really taste great. And it's not very varied, but you could still save some money. You have some left, a little bit more left at the end of the month. So kind of this situation where you basically can just cover the essentials, and every unexpected expense just basically throws you under the bus, this is very, very stressful. Kind of where it's going then to the point that even though you have health insurance in Switzerland and kind of health expenses are capped at 3.2k a year, you couldn't afford to get sick because you cannot afford a doctor without going in debt. So and that's a very, very stressful situation, and it also was for me, even though I knew it would be temporary. So
and I think we could always, I assume you as well, we could always go and ask the parents, hey, can you help me out for a month?
I actually did. In the end, I had to, because of some unexpected expenses that I couldn't cover myself. So I had to ask my parents for $3,000, like 3k, I don't know, grand, whatever.
Yeah.
Which I paid back since, but this is a horrible feeling too. I have to say.
And you just don't want to do it because you're like, I'm grown up, I can handle myself, it's gonna be fine. And you're like, shit.
I think it was even, for me at least, it was even worse than kind of not having enough money, was actually to have to go and ask my parents for financial help. Because otherwise I couldn't have managed that time. Because it's associated with a lot of guilt. You kind of have to admit that you're not making it, even as a grown adult. And I feel like there's also a lot of stigma around that, even though I'm sure my parents didn't see it that way. But
yeah, they would just like, I don't need 10k, okay, pay me back when you can. Most probably, I assume. Because they're like, okay, my kiddo needs help, let's help.
But still you feel like a total failure.
Yeah,
in
you feel like
situation.
shit.
You feel like shit. Like you've done something completely stupid. Like you cannot handle your finances, even though.
And it would be fine if you like invest in a shit coin and lose everything. You're
Yeah.
like, well, this was the mistake I made.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. But it's just kind of this combination of unfortunate life circumstances that force you into this situation. And I think a lot of people have that.
But nobody's asking.
But nobody's asking.
And I'm sure a lot of friends would also help out, because if you have like 5, 6 very good friends and everybody lends you 1k, for example, I'm sure everybody would do it of these 5, 6 people, and you have 6 grand, which will help you out in this moment tremendously. And for them, it's not a gigantic like kind of amount of money they have to give you, and you can pay them back, you know. Of course, you need to be good friends and you have to write it down that it's fine, but still, I think a lot of people are afraid to ask and are not asking. And they're like, are some people that ask and they're always asking and they're never paying it back. Also that kind of people. But I think sometimes it's just better to ask, because it's gonna stress you mentally to ask, but you're gonna feel better when you don't have to like this zero so close.
I think this also goes back to, at least in kind of our culture, not talking about money. That really doesn't help, because if this is kind of the first time you talk with your friends or family about money when you're in that situation, that raises the stakes even further up, because kind of the barrier is even higher.
Yeah, if you talked before about, I got a pay raise from 10 grand to 20 grand, nice, let's go for dinner and invite, it's different.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah.
This is definitely, I think, financial security is, if you have it, you don't think much about it, but if you don't have it, it's kind of the only thing you can think about, like all day long.